Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabhagi Varadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabhagi Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Is the sound all right? Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay. Now I'm going to be quiet because it's really close. All right, we can start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can recite this all together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. All right, today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, entitled, Kapila's Instructions on the Execution of Devotional Service. I'm going to read text 30. So, does anyone want to recap what we talked about yesterday? What was the topic from yesterday?
Recap.
We talked a lot about the importance of hearing scripture, especially from like bona fide sources, attentively.
Try. And then how did the section end that we were reading last?
It ended with the description of the Lord, a real nice meditation on it to help us remember.
Yes. Okay, so we're kind of picking up where we left off yesterday, and we're going to be talking about the description of the Lord. And so it's actually pretty exciting. I was supposed to give class on Friday, but then there was a switch up, but this verse is actually really cool, so Krishna's mercy. So we can start. Again, it's 3:28:30. All right. Yashri Niketam Alibi Nope. What is this? This is Brahma Samhita? Yashri Niketam Alibi Parisevyamanam Bhutya Svaya Kutila Junta Lavrindam Drushtam Minadvayashayam Adikshipad Abjanetram Dayan Manomayamatandrita Ulasadbru. Please chant. Dayan Manomaya Matandrita Saladru. Alibi Parisevyamanam Utyasaya Kutila Juntala One more. Sayakutila Jundala Minavaya Shayamani Vinitram Jayan Manomaya Matandita Sadhu. Synonyms, we can say that together. Yat, which face of the Lord, Shri Niketam, a lotus, Alibhi, by bees, Parisevyamanam, surrounded, Bhutya, by elegance, Svaya, its, Kutila, curly, Kuntala, of hair, Vrinda, by a multitude, Jushtam, adorned, Mina, of fish, Dvaya, a pair, Ashrayam, dwelling, Arikshapat, putting to shame, Abja, a lotus, Netram, having eyes, yet one should meditate on, formed in the mind, Amrita, attentive, Ulisat, dancing, Ru, having eyebrows. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The yogi then meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance. Wow. Very nice. Do you guys want to recite it? The yogi then meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance. Someone to read the purport.
One important statement here is Dhyayan Manomayam. Manomayam is not imagination. Impersonalists think that the yogi can imagine any form he likes. But, as stated here, the yogi must meditate upon the form of the Lord, which is experienced by devotees. Devotees never imagine a form of the Lord. They are not satisfied by something imaginary. The Lord has different eternal forms, each devotee likes a particular form and thus engages himself in the service of the Lord by worshiping that form. The Lord's form is depicted in different ways according to scriptures. As already discussed, there are 8 kinds of representations of the original form of the Lord. These representations can be produced by the use of clay, stone, wood, paint, sand, etc., depending upon the resources of the devotee.
Manomayam is a carving of the form of the Lord within the mind. This is included as one of the 8 different carvings of the form of the Lord. It is not imagination. Meditation on the actual form of the Lord may be manifested in different manners, but one should not conclude that one has to imagine a form. There are 2 comparisons in this verse. First, the Lord's face is compared to a lotus, and then his black hair is compared to humming bees swarming around the lotus, and his 2 eyes are compared to 2 fish swimming about. A lotus flower on the water is very beautiful when surrounded by humming bees and fish. The Lord's face is self-sufficient and complete. His beauty defies the natural beauty of a lotus.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, this verse is it's amazing. It's Krishna's hair like a swarm of bees, and his eyes are like 2 fish in a pond surrounding a blue lotus. It's like, whoa. So the theme of class today is going to be the beauty of Krishna. it's a very pleasant topic. And I hope we can have a nice meditation on Krishna's form. So first I'd like to talk about why is it important that we talk about the beauty of Krishna. This seems like a kind of topic that might be put on the back burner. It might be, God is opulent, God is powerful, God is all-pervasive. And most other world religions, they focus on that aspect. God is merciful, God is kind. But they don't really seem to have a connection to God is beautiful. So why do we specifically find it important to talk on why Krishna is beautiful? Does anyone have an idea?
We're very interested in a personal relationship with the Lord. And if you want a personal relationship, you want to hear about the person's form. You want to hear about their beauty. Krishna happens to be the most beautiful, so there's unlimited topics about his beauty, and they attach us more to his personal form.
Jai, okay, so God is a person, and part of being a person is that they have a form, and the form is beautiful. Any other reason why specifically we need to talk about God and his beauty? Any other thoughts? Purnamrita?
What came to mind for me was that it's nice to meditate on the beauty of the Lord because it takes the attention off of ourselves, because we're so attached to our body and we want to be praised and we want to be in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not on a spiritual platform at all. We want to be praised for our body.
Jai, so yeah, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. So both are very nice answers. I remember one time Hriday Nandamaraj, he was at the Krishna house and he was giving a class, and he mentioned that the highest conception of God has to be God who is the best in all categories. If you can conceive of something more beautiful than God, then that's not God you're talking about. God has to be the most beautiful in order to be God. If there's someone or something, even that you can imagine to be more beautiful than God, then that's not God we're talking about. So it's actually very important that we realize that God is the most beautiful. And it's one of his 6 opulences called Shri. So in talking about God's beauty, we can take advantage of depictions of Krishna. Prabhupada was talking in this verse about clay, sand, paint, stone, wood, and also the mind. So why do we have these depictions? How do they help us? They allow us to become attached to what God looks like. They allow us to develop affection for God in this way of visualizing it. And why is that attachment helpful? Is because, as Purnamrita was saying, we're attached to so many beauties of the material world. We see the sunset, we're like, wow, this is like a beautiful sunset. Or there's so many beautiful things of the world. And so kind of one of the points of emphasizing Krishna's beauty is because when we can see how beautiful Krishna is or how beautiful Vrindavan is, we lose taste for the beauties of this material world, which actually are not beautiful at all. Like you were saying, Purnamrita, we are so attached to this body, but if we could just see how this body is very disgusting, actually. We hear of Krishna's body, it's beyond the 3 modes of material nature, it's pure, it's indescribably beautiful. Actually, we can't describe Krishna's beauty. The only way we can even come close is how we're looking at it right now, through metaphors, through poetry. So we're kind of getting an understanding of why is it important to understand Krishna's beauty, because when we understand Krishna's beauty, we understand that we are not this body, because this body is very ugly and this material world is very ugly. Actually at an increasing rate, like there's just going to be more and more garbage all over the planet. And you go outside and you look at like the highway and all the skyscrapers and stuff, and this is not beauty. This world we're in, it's very far from actual beauty. So that's the first point, is why do we want to know about God's beauty? Because that will give us detachment from this world and attachment to Krishna. And then, sorry, just a second. Also on that point, I was thinking, we sing in the morning, Venum kvanantam aravinda dalaya taksham Bharhavatam samasitam Buddha sundarangam Kandarpa koti kamaniya Vishesha shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham bhajami. So one of my favorite parts about this is that it talks about Kandarpa, Cupid. And Cupid is known for hitting everyone with his arrows, and they all fall in love. And if you're a materialist, falling in love means, well, you kind of spiral down into the material pool, and there can be a lot of pain there. So Cupid is shooting everyone. You just look around, it's like a murder spree. He's shooting everyone on this planet. But Cupid, he actually, upon seeing the beauty of Krishna, he breaks his bow. He's so bewildered. Krishna bewilders not one Cupid, Koti. He bewilders tons and tons of Cupids by his beauty. And so when we understand that Krishna will save us from Cupid's arrows, he'll save us from being shot by Cupid. And Cupid himself is bewildered by Krishna. Does anyone know the name of Krishna where it talks about how he bewilders Cupid? Madan Mohan. And then Radharani is Madan Mohan Mohini. So it's very nice. And then, let me see. Sorry. I was looking online. I was just like online, just doing stuff, kind of mindlessly. But this video came up about like these tourism places. And yeah, it's like in Saudi Arabia, there's like these new, like, I don't know, it's like a box, but it's like everyone's going to live in the box. I don't know. It's like these mega projects or different tourist attractions. And I was just thinking, like, there's so many places to see in the world, so many tourist spots, like what do they call it, the Maldives? It's like this really nice beach or something. And I was thinking just like Vrindavan has like this indescribable beauty to it, even though there might be, something in the air, there might be something on the floor, there might be chaos or something like that. These other places in the world are just somehow incomparable to Vrindavan, and you can't explain it. You can't really explain why with words, why it is that. I think anyone in this room would, instantly book a ticket to Vrindavan before they book it to, the Bahamas or something, because we can see and we can appreciate the beauty of the Lord's pastimes places. And then, on that same vein, we can now distinguish between dead matter and spirit. In my life personally, it's kind of weird to talk about myself, but I like to paint. Painting is one of the things I enjoy. It I get to meditate a little bit. And I kind of exclusively do Krishna because I realize, like, if you ask me, like, oh, can you paint a robot? It's just so lifeless. It's just so dead to it. I can't explain it. I can't explain what's the difference, but just somehow Krishna, he has so much life exuding from him, versus the things of this material world are very bland and boring in comparison. Similarly, just finally to nail in the point, Prabhupada, he talks about how when we dress the deities very nicely, like he's talking about in this purport, when we dress the deities very nicely, we will lose all attraction to the beauty of this world. So we can all look at Shri Radha Kalachandji and see how wonderfully Chakri Puri and Mother Vishnupuri have dressed them, and also Shri Gornitai, Chota Radha Kalachandji, Radha Govinda, Jagannath Bali, Subhadra. And yeah, it's just incomparable to anything of this world, and especially when you are doing that service, you gain an appreciation that this is unlike anything else that we can find here. And okay, I'll move on to another small topic of art. There's actually, I was just like fiddling around on the internet again, and I was looking at this ISKCON deity worship ministry, like little video thing. And it was talking about how in ISKCON you're only allowed to dress Srimati Radharani very symmetrically. So her garland has to go straight. Her necklaces go straight. Her headdress goes straight. Her veil, straight. And I was like, that's interesting. And the reason why is because it's symbolic. It's because symmetry means it's very formal. Oh, symmetry is very formal. It's very it's beautiful, and it's respectful and things like that. Versus if you look at some Krishna deities, like they have a big turban going to the left, their garlands swinging all the way to the right, all his necklaces are going to the right, because Krishna is he's more kind of, we don't have as much on reverence for Krishna as we do for Srimati Radharani. And asymmetry is supposed to be, daring. It's supposed to be adventurous. It's like, is this going to work? Is it even going to stay on his head? It's, there's adventure to asymmetry. But then if you look at Radha Kalachandji, you notice that actually it's kind of a different mood a little bit. The standard that Tamal Krishna Maharaj kind of established here is that Kalachandji's garland hangs very straight. Here it's a little swinging. Kalachandji's feeling a little adventurous today, but on most days the garland is very straight. The turban is actually, it's one of the only places where I ever see a symmetrical turban, but it's has the stripes, and then it meets in the middle, and then the weight is balanced on each side. So we can analyze these descriptions of God, these depictions of God, and we can find different things meanings out of them, different ways to understand Krishna more through these depictions, whether it's the deity, whether it's a painting, or whether it's poetry like this. We can look at how Krishna's hair is like swarming bees. If you look at a swarm of bees, you practically can't take your eyes off them, because it's a swarm of bees, They're all moving, it's very active, it's very alive, And so his hair, we have to understand that it's not literally a swarm of bees. He doesn't have a swarm of bees as his hair, but if we're attentive to these descriptions, we can actually get a lot more out of them. So yeah, I was thinking, we say Krishna's blue, but that doesn't really cut it, right? We can't really just say Krishna's blue. Oh, Krishna's vermilion blue. It falls flat. But when we say Krishna is like a monsoon rain cloud, we can actually somehow grasp it more. We can actually enter into that. In the light of the Bhagavat, Srila Prabhupada, he actually gives us a whole experience on this monsoon rain cloud. In the summer, it's very hot. Especially in India, it's very hot in the summer. And so there's the monsoon season, there's the rainy season. And so when you see the cloud in the sky, there's a feeling that comes with it. There's, oh my God, it's over. The heat is over. There's going to be rain. And Prabhupada describes how all the farmers are rejoicing and the industrialists are very disappointed because they can no longer exploit the people. So this is an example of, we just say, oh, Krishna's like a monsoon rain cloud, but if we are attentive to it, we can actually get an experience. And that's something I've been looking at, is that this kind of beauty of Krishna, it's actually something to experience. It's not just something to read. So we can think of that when we hear the monsoon rain cloud, is that, it's not that he just looks like that, but looking at him is this feeling of relief, this feeling of joy, this feeling of the rain is coming. Similarly, there's this description that Krishna looks like a sapphire surrounded by gold ornaments when around the gopis. You can look at the Rasalila painting right there, and you can just picture how Krishna is like a sapphire surrounded by the gold ornaments of the gopis. So at first you say, oh, he's blue. The gopis have all kind of golden complexions. But one of the qualities of a sapphire is that it's all gems, they're kind of radiant. So it's interesting too that Krishna, he's both dark, yet he exudes light somehow. He's dark but light. He goes to steal butter, but he never has to turn on the light to see where the butter is hanging, because when he walks in, he's self-effulgent. So actually this description is letting us enter deeper into understanding who Krishna is. Krishna, he's dark, but he's exuding this beautiful light from him. I'll think of one more little metaphor. Krishna's toenails are exuding these rays, like these brilliant rays, and it's like, whoa. I was just thinking, it's nice to think that we're in this darkness of material existence, and these rays of the toenails can let us come to see Krishna and let us come to his lotus feet. Okay, I had one more. I was reading, Krishna is like a whirlpool, and the gopis are like small leaves or straws. And so once the water picks up those leaves and straws, they go and they swirl and they go down, 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 and then they never come up. So similarly, when we get attracted to Krishna, we just go deeper and lower and deeper. And then Prabhupada says that, like the leaves, they end up at the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is kind of helping us understand what we are about to read, and we can practice this, trying to visualize. Not only we just picture it, but we try to experience it. It'll talk about Krishna's bloodied mace. And so what does that mean? It means that Krishna protects the devotees. We can read more into it. So we're going to read from text 20 to 30. I can start it off. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord. So Kapila Dev, he's giving us a tip how to not short ourselves of all this nectar, If we just look at the whole thing all at once, then we can't relish it as much as we're about to in these next few verses, where we're going to start at the feet and eventually end up at his face. So, does anyone want to read text 21?
Text 21. The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of a thunderbolt, a gourd, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon and dispels the thick gloom of one's heart.
Next verse, please.
The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that has washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts, hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time.
That's amazing, right? His feet act like thunderbolts on the sin stored in our mind. Again, this is poetry, but it's also philosophy. This is a description of the Lord, but it's also a hint. How do we get rid of the sin in our mind? We put Krishna's lotus feet there, and it'll break that mountain of sin. It's like a huge Mount Everest of sin, at least in my mind. And so we can shatter it by putting Krishna's feet there. Kaylee? We meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time, as it says here. Well, I think, Paramita?
I think both. We can look at the deity and meditate on his lotus feet, but also we can meditate. The devotees reside at the Lord's lotus feet. So I often think of the devotees as being like the Lord's lotus feet, so we can meditate on serving the devotees.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada's pranam was very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter of his lotus feet.
Haribo. Text 23.
The yogi should fix his heart, the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all the demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord, very carefully serving him in this way.
Okay, so we've moved up to the thighs of the Lord, and we get to see how Lakshmi Devi is serving.
Next, the yogi should fix his mind in meditation on the personality of Godhead's thighs, the storehouse of all energy. The Lord's thighs are whitish blue, like the luster of the linseed flower, and appear most graceful when the Lord is carried on the shoulders of Garuda. Also, the yogi should contemplate his rounded hips, which are encircled by a girdle that rests on the exquisite yellow silk cloth that extends down to his ankles.
So a small intermission, but I also read that when Krishna is on Garuda, it looks like a cloud with lightning sitting on the sun. So that's pretty insane to think about. Garuda is like he's brilliant like the sun, and then Krishna looks like a lightning cloud. So, yeah. Next text.
The yogi should then meditate on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, sprang the lotus stem containing all the different planetary systems. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, the first created being. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind on the Lord's nipples, which represent a pair of most exquisite emeralds and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk-white pearl necklaces adorning his chest.
Amazing. Even the Lord's navel it's called the foundation of the entire universe. Wow.
The yogi should then meditate on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of the goddess Mahalakshmi. The Lord's chest is the source of all transcendental pleasure for the mind and the full satisfaction for the eyes. The yogi should then imprint on his mind the neck of the personality of Godhead, who is adorned by the entire universe. The neck of the Lord serves to enhance the beauty of the Kaustubha gem which hangs on his chest.
A small interesting point is that the neck enhances the beauty of the gem. It's not that the gem is making the neck beautiful, but the neck is actually making the gem beautiful. So, pretty amazing.
The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's four arms, which are the source of all the powers of the demigods who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments which were burnished by Mount Mandara as it revolved. He should also duly contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshana Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling luster, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm.
So the conch in Krishna's hand looks like a swan in a lotus. So nice.
The yogi should meditate upon his club, which is named Kaumodaki, and is very dear to him. This club smashes the demons, who are always inimical soldiers, and is smeared with their blood. One should also concentrate on the nice garland on the neck of the Lord, which is always surrounded by bumblebees, with their nice buzzing sound, and one should meditate upon the pearl necklace on the Lord's neck, which is considered to represent the pure living entities who are always engaged in his service.
The yogi should then meditate on the lotus-like countenance of the Lord, who presents his different forms in this world out of compassion for the anxious devotees. His nose is prominent, and his crystal-clear cheeks are illuminated by the oscillation of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings.
Here we are with the lotus-like countenance again. It's returned. And the oscillation. So oscillation is like the swinging of his glittering alligator-shaped earrings. All right, and then this last text.
The yogi then meditates upon the beautiful face of the Lord, which is adorned with curly hair and decorated by lotus-like eyes and dancing eyebrows. A lotus surrounded by swarming bees and a pair of swimming fish would be put to shame by its elegance.
All right, Haribol. Any thoughts, reflections, comments, questions, concerns, criticisms?
No criticisms. Very nice class. I was appreciating in Srila Prabhupada's purport about the pearl-like necklace, and he was explaining that the devotees are the pearls on the necklace, the pure devotees. I thought it was just really nice to think of Srila Prabhupada and the six Goswamis. This usually a pearl necklace is something that somebody really cherishes. Is like their like the most important piece they're going to wear. That's like the pearl, the pearl necklace. And so Krishna's pearl necklace is the pure devotee. That was really sweet.
I was really appreciating the point that you made about, you were just kind of emphasizing this, that Krishna is dark, but he's effulgent. And I was just remembering, I remember hearing in a class one time that Krishna is I don't know what word she used. The word coming to mind for me is the confluence, like when rivers come together. He's like the confluence of all contradictions. He just harmonizes them and makes them pure and perfect. So yes, he's dark and he's effulgent and he's all of these amazing qualities. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. I really like all of these little tidbits that you add. It really makes it complete. I especially like the part where you're talking about the spiritual beauty and why Vrindavan is so much. I mean, I've never been to Vrindavan, but I can see in other people that have been to Vrindavan that it feels that this the spiritual beauty of Vrindavan, it changes the internals, it changes the heart and the mind of of someone who visits. But when we visit these other places, Maldives or Bahamas or something, it just kind of is external beauty. It doesn't have a change of heart or mind. So I feel that's what happens also with seeing the deities, like that. It's more like a spiritual beauty. And then I have a question also. You mentioned that when one dresses the deities, they no longer have an attraction for the material beauty or material world. And I feel that is also probably said about just those who are coming to look at the deities. But what if we don't have that change? What if we still feel attracted to things in this material world? What's the problem? Is it how can we?
Yeah, thank you. You actually reminded me of a point. Oh, her question was, so there's this Srila Prabhupada quote. It was in the little calendar, and he says that he instructs one of his disciples, dress the deities very nicely, and you will forget all the beauties of this material world. And Kaylee was asking, what happens, like what if you're not experiencing that? And so, while we were talking about the deities and dressing the deities, actually, Krishna is absolute, so all practices of bhakti kind of have that effect where we forget the beauties of the mundane world and we become attached to the beauties of the spiritual world. And so directly talking about your question, it's a gradual process, of course. So gradually we will we'll come to see more, whether it'll be a combination, like our body will age and we will see more things in the world that just aren't satisfying us. And on top of that, spiritual life, if we keep practicing sincerely, it'll just get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And so then eventually one day, we're just going to flip. It's just going to change for us. And then you had a small comment that I'm sure it's also the same for the person who's taking darshan. And I just remembered that one of the points I was going to make is that you don't actually have to be the one dressing the deities. Actually, when you chant, what comes from your chanting? Guna, Rupa, Lila. Krishna's form is actually revealed when you chant. So while we do appreciate the depictions of Krishna, his paintings, his deity form, actually chanting is complete in itself. We don't need anything more than chanting, and chanting will give us that depiction of the Lord if we chant purely. Chanting will reveal the Lord's form to us, but also gradually. So thank you for your comment, Katie.
I think another part of your question was why, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I was listening to a class by Mahatma Prabhu, and he was talking about how devotional service is just so amazing. You experience so much bliss and so much enjoyment that you don't experience in the material world. We're constantly seeking that in watching movies and scrolling through Instagram and all these things. We want to experience that pleasure, but really it just comes from Krishna. And he was asking, he was having those who were listening reflect on whether or not we're experiencing that bliss, and saying that if we're not, then we have to do a lot of reflecting. Like, who have we offended? Are we being attentive? Are we offending the Lord himself by chanting japa inattentively and all the 10 offenses? And it's something that it's our responsibility to reflect and try to understand, why am I not experiencing what is described that we would experience.
Jai, yeah. It's very, very practical for our everyday lives. Come back down to earth and say, what can we do to get there? Any other comments, thoughts?
I just wanted to circle back to the point about Vrindavan being more beautiful, and you said maybe it's inexplicable, it's hard to explain, but I think it has been explained in that the devotees make the dham. So when we go to Vrindavan, I mean, yes, it's also where Krishna performed his earthly leela, so that makes it very special, but the fact that the devotees there make it accessible for us. If the devotees weren't there, it'd be hard for us to even experience that. And so then in that same note, if we go to the Bahamas and we're going there to visit an ISKCON temple and a temple of the Lord, and we do service and there's devotees there to hear philosophy from, it can also bring that same depth, because Krishna is there. It's like what we were talking about yesterday in Bhagavad Gita class, in the evening class, where Prabhupada was saying in the purport that anything in the material world is naturally inauspicious. But as soon as it becomes connected with Krishna, it becomes auspicious and eternal and full of life. So yeah, I just think that was my meditation.
Jai. Anything else? Point number there.
I was also thinking about that, like if we in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about how we can see him in the world, and I was thinking that if you do have to go to the Bahamas for whatever reason, maybe your family invited you and you just have to go. There's ways to think about Krishna and meditate on Krishna, but yeah, there's definitely not that potency that there is in Vrindavan.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, it's 8:31. Want to end on time. Thank you all for being here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Krishna's lotus-like everything ki jai. Haribo.
should be